Hey, this is P Complex, and this is Glengy.
Hey, everybody.
We're back with another episode of Hunter x Hunter, and I think we're going to do something different this time around because the pacing of this show is really bizarre, and if we were just going to do 10 episodes, we wouldn't have enough to talk about. If we were going to do 20, we'd have too much, so we're going to go a bit by where the arcs begin and end, and we're going to go about to episode 36, I think.
Is it 36? Let's see. Yeah, it's about 36 where the next kind of big chunk of story sort of clears up.
Yeah, and so the reason there would not be a lot to talk about in the next 10 episodes is because nothing happens.
Oh, that's a little bit... That's an extreme way of putting it. It's just that nothing goes anywhere.
Yeah. Because we do get stuff that happens, but we just spectacularly drop that plot thread that was brilliantly set up at the end of the Hunter exam, where it is revealed to us kind of the uncomfortable relationship that Killua has with his brother, and we set him up so that he is jealous of Gon, and he has kind of been convinced that that degree of self-sacrifice is normal for a 12-year-old boy. That's how you form connections with other people. That's how you prove that you care about more than yourself. And because he's not capable of fulfilling that, he's just convinced he's some sort of weird, fucked up, damaged guy who's never going to be able to be friends with anyone, and it's deep shit.
So we come off of I would honestly say pretty brilliant episode 20. That is a startlingly intense scene between Killua and Ilumi.
Mm-hmm.
And basically a lot of that kind of immediately deflates with upcoming events, where...
It doesn't deflate immediately. We get a pretty good scene right into episode 21. Where Gon is just marching straight up to Illumi, yelling at him. He grabs his arm and flips him out of the seat, and Illumi doesn't really give a shit about that. He just kind of delicately floats to the ground.
Yeah, this was actually one of those things that I was mildly spoiled by a screenshot way back before we started watching this show that I was a little disappointed by the result of, because I was under the impression that we were about to see Gon just kind of lift Ilumi up and just power slam him right into the floor.
Yeah, Gon beating the shit out of Illumi would be a pretty cathartic scene to have here. That would have been nice.
I was really kind of expecting to see kind of that funny scene with the Hulk from the Avengers.
I haven't seen that.
You never saw that movie? It was a cultural touchstone, though.
No, I'm sorry. I only watch anime.
You only watch good things.
Yeah, okay.
Anime's bad. Anyways, so I came into this with some expectations that admittedly I shouldn't have, because that's not what ends up happening. Gon simply, holds Illumi in place and demands that he apologize for hurting Killua's feelings.
I like how he just clenches his arm for the entirety of that conversation. And even when the scene kind of drifts to other people talking, it's not really about Gon and Illumi anymore. He still remains with his arm in that vice grip, to the point where afterwards it's revealed that Illumi's got his arm broken.
Yeah, Gon, as we've seen throughout most of the series so far, shows a really simplistic kind of determination to him, where he's completely tunnel visioned towards any kind of motivation.
But then when we get a bit of a drop in the tension is when everybody else starts bringing up their problems with the Hunter exam, because that wasn't just bait and switch for the audience. Nobody really feels like they got to live up to their potential. Nobody really feels like they earned their win. And so everybody's just bickering with each other over technicalities and stuff.
Yeah, it's actually a really funny scene in general, because like it's totally Tagashi like doing that thing of like pulling this rug out from under the audience,
Mm-hmm.
where you expect with the climactic tournament arc and the whole like again, this is meant to be a climax of this arc where our characters have cleared all their trials and they're rewarded with their heroic boon, the hunter exam license.
Mm-hmm.
But the real twist on this is that it's like none of this is like particularly satisfying, and none of this is anything conclusive, because the structure of this story is meant to be something of like constantly escalating scale and adventure.
Yeah, nothing really ends how you would expect it to end. Or maybe it's more accurate to say very few things end how you'd expect them to end. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times, what you do get out of stuff like that is you get something more interesting. A lot of times, you get something with more depth and more to say than what you had originally expected. I think here it kind of feels like, all right, everybody got cheated out of the satisfaction of the tournament arc, and then we don't really get anything to replace that satisfaction.
Yeah, I think it's a solid enough twist as kind of a level of foreshadowing for like the reveal that we get in the next upcoming arc. The one after this next few episodes, in which we realize that like, oh well, becoming a hunter, getting the license and stuff, and clearing those first trials of the exam, that's kind of just the beginning.
Yeah, I guess that's fair enough.
So the real thing is that like all these people who've cleared the exam and stuff, like they are not done being examined and being tested for their like competency in this trade. There's still more trials and more exams yet to come, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, once it is revealed that Killua went home, and Illumi is kind of very deft at excusing himself of responsibility for this. Like, oh, well, he went home on his own. You're acting like I kidnapped him. You're acting like I did any of this. And
Yeah.
it's very... because he comes across as so oblivious, and I don't think he is to the extent to which he portrays himself.
It comes across as kind of he's kind of putting on a thing to lull people into a false sense of security around him.
Yeah, like he doesn't come across as someone with charisma, but I think that somewhat ironically is how he maintains this kind of charisma that he has, is just that nobody expects him to do things like that because of just the way he carries himself. Now Gon kind of immediately forgets about Illumi after he gets the idea to go save Killua.
Yeah, I mean, again, like we see Gon transitioning from different from like goal to goal,
Mm-hmm.
and then completely hyper focusing on each one as he does. Like he doesn't really care about getting Illumi to apologize anymore. Once he learns that it's like, oh well, I should probably go rescue Killua instead.
Yeah, it does kind of deprive the audience of that fun sort of confrontation.
Again, like like we see conflicts and resolutions turning out not as one would expect. A lot of these stories don't end the way that you would expect them to,
Mm-hmm.
and oftentimes that does lead to a more interesting or a more deep kind of narrative. On that note, let's move on to the Zoldyck family arc.
The mini arc, the arc that is so tiny Wikipedia doesn't even think it is an arc. So
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and it does not consider those episodes their own thing. This is definitely a story that doesn't end the way that we expected it to.
yeah, and it's pretty terrible.
It's not great. So, we learn that Illumi and Killua come from... Well, we knew that they come from a family of assassins. And Illumi has told us where exactly their secret hideout is, because it's not a secret. And in fact, their secret hideout on top of the mountain is actually a popular tourist spot.
This is the goofiest setting detail, but I love it.
This series has a tone problem.
Yeah, you said that, but I kind of like his family is already characterized like a reality show. Like honestly, it fits. I was not bothered by that. So yeah, we go on the Assassin Family tour bus to Assassin Family Mountain. Kurapika and Leorio are coming along because they don't have anything better to do, so they're still around.
No, it's because they're friends with Killua, probably. They're coming to help out Gon because he wants to do the thing. I don't know. They're here. They're here, and they're gonna help, and they're definitely going to do things.
So let's see. When we get up there, the bandits are trying to get through the gate to the Assassin Family.
We've taken a tour bus, and some of the guys touring on it are guys who have decided, hey, we're cool and powerful and not stupid. We're gonna go invade the secret hideout, and we're gonna go. What were they planning to do? Like steal treasures or something?
Yeah, they're rich. The Zoldyck family is. So
Yeah, so they're gonna go, rob the Zoldycks, and they decide, they threaten the doorman, who's at the front gate, the gigantic, unscalable metal gate that guards the premises, and he's just like, "Whoa, man, don't hurt me!" And he just gives them, he just lets them in through the door, like this little tiny side door on the side.
I think they actually steal the key from him.
Oh, that's so rude.
Yeah, but that's that's a feature that's been set up intentionally.
No way, get out of town. You mean this is some kind of trick?
Yeah, so they get in and they get eaten by the enormous, 3-story tall guard dog.
They have a guard dog. What was the name of the guard dog?
I think it was Mike or something. Or maybe it was Mike. I don't know.
I hope it was just Mike. That would be funny.
At that point, is this when he reveals that he's not actually a security guard, he's actually the caretaker of the dog, and the whole reason he's got the whole security guard aesthetic going on is so people will try and take the key and get in?
So it's actually it's a clever security puzzle where because people don't even think to go through the main gate, they just go through the easy route instead, and the easy route, which is stealing the key from the helpless guardman, just leads you into the door where the dog has been told to just eat whoever comes in that way. Anybody that can actually get through the main gate by pushing open the, what are they, 24-ton doors?
Some ridiculous, unrealistic amount of weight. They're called the testing gate, and you have to be really buff and strong to lift them.
So anybody that can get through the testing gate, Mike has been told to not bother them at all because they've proven that they can enter the premises of the Zoldyck family. And so we spend a good old training montage.
Mm-hmm. I just have to question why. Why, again, the hunter license thing, there is no actual vetting of morality or previous record or anything. They're just making sure anyone who gets that power is strong. And this is the same thing. If the Zoldyck family is trying to keep out people who would have bad feelings towards them, who would be trying to harm them, all they're doing is making sure the ones who get through are the most powerful ones.
In the case of the Zoldyck family, that feels a little bit more appropriate considering how they are more explicitly amoral than the Hunter exam. They're
also just bizarre.
No, it feels to me I got the impression that it's kind of a classic, anime villain kind of anime trainer kind of thing, martial arts type deal, where the idea is that they are seeking challengers if those challengers are capable of even reaching them.
That's fair enough. I guess you do have a pretty heavy martial arts vibe to the dad and the grandpa.
Yeah, I particularly see it as their sort of angle. We do see, we do understand that Killua was put through incredibly intense training throughout his entire childhood with these sorts of really essentially just like torture, both physical and psychological. Really intense kind of training throughout his entire childhood to get him to the level that he is now. And I assume this sort of gate setup was made with the intent of that style of training for both the family and the guards and butlers who work for them.
All right, can we consider the logic going on from the bandits' end, though, where if you're trying to pick a rich person to rob, and you decide on...
Maybe don't try to rob the strongest people in the world.
Yeah,
They're not portrayed as smart bandits, like...
Alright, so yeah, we do get the really stupid training montage that establishes that our little 12-year-old protagonist can apparently lift, like, tons of
I can
weight.
even lift this big rock.
I guess what it did do that I liked was it showed time
Yeah,
passing.
I mean, like, so Gon's arm is still broken. And throughout the training montage, we see as he is, like, starting to heal, he's able to, like, move it a little bit more, and eventually he starts, trying to do what he can, but he's still clearly, like, struggling with it, and it's something that's holding him back, and he's feeling bad about that, because he kind of fucked himself up for really dumb reasons.
I feel like in a worse show, we would have just had a scene cut, and his cast would be gone. That's something I see in a lot of fight shows.
Yeah, and like the nice thing that we see is by the climax of the training montage, because what Leorio and Kurapika have been doing throughout this time is they've been wearing like super heavy weighted clothing and like all these things to try and train their bodies better, because they've been wanting to like push the door open to let Gon slip through so that he could go rescue Killua and stuff, and they've been trying to do it for his sake. And the climax of the training montage has Gon finally joining in, taking his arm up, and he uses both hands to help them push through the doors, which is really, really sweet.
Yeah, he's the piece that allows them to actually make it through. And again, it's not bad. It feels a little bit misguided once we start getting through the gate. And we meet Canary, who is one of the junior butlers. I think she's like is 14 or so. She's very young.
I mean, we said we wouldn't have much to talk about over like 10 episodes, but we just spent like however long that was on a single episode of this arc.
Yeah, honestly, maybe we'll cut it off early.
Hey, this is a freeform show we work here, so like, I don't know. Maybe there's actually a little more depth to the Zoldyck arc than we gave it credit.
Mm-hmm. So, I like Canary's design a lot, even though it's kind of understated with the dress shirt and the tie and everything. It's just very Janelle Monáe. And she's one of the few characters in anime with an English word for a name that is not, like, horrendous and weird and
It's
terrible.
just Canary. Canary is like, wait, is anyone actually normally named that in the real life?
I mean, I don't think so, but I wouldn't find it awful.
It's a nice name. It's cute.
So, anyway, immediately after he gets through the testing gate, Canary's gonna come and show down with Gon. She's just gonna hit him with her stick.
Canary carves a small line in the ground and says to Gon, "Hey, so I work here, and you're not allowed to cross this line, or else I'll just kill you. Like, you don't cross this line, or else I stop you." And it's as simple as that. So Gon's like, okay, and he steps over the line and immediately gets bashed in the face with a stick.
Yeah, and we kind of have a repeat of the first battle in the Hunter exam. Even though we had that big long training montage,
So this one does take a noticeably different kind of approach to Gon doing the whole attrition thing than he did against Ninja Boy. Whereas in the case of Ninja Boy, Ninja Guy was restrained by the rules of the tournament, like he can't kill Gon, and so he eventually gave up due to like the restrictions of the rules and due to Gon's willpower. And it's similar here to what happens, but what's funny, to me at least, is that we notice that like the match goes on this battle of attrition goes on considerably longer to where it is dusk. They start in the morning and it's the end of the day by the time we finish, and you can see that Canary is visibly tired. She...
What he's really banking on here is appealing to her humanity.
Oh yeah, because his insistence is that he has to get in to see Killua.
But it's like it is actually portrayed as somewhat unpleasant for her to be beating up.
That's a weird
this
trend that we see with a lot of Gon's fights, isn't it?
Yeah, he really does play on people's sympathies a lot.
Intentionally or otherwise.
Yeah, I think it is entirely unintentionally.
So eventually, Canary is, sweating and visibly, exhausted. She has tired herself out from overpunching. And as soon as she is about to relent, Gon has kind of won the battle of wills. Because we get a flashback to understand how Canary met Killua back when she first began her work as a butler here at the Zoldyck Mansion. And we understand that Canary, she has her job, she has her duties, but she does want to help Killua too, and she does understand why Gon and his friends are here. And she is actually just about to relent and allow them to pass when she is shot in the head from off screen.
By the mom.
I believe it is by the mom, Kikyo, who is Killua's mom.
She has the most random, weird design, and I don't think we ever really get a full explanation for it. She
has, a fancy Victorian dress.
Yeah, she's like Marie Antoinette, and she's got a big robot visor.
But she's covered... Yeah, she's covered in bandages, and she has a Cyclops visor.
And ordinarily you'd think that, Killua cut her up pretty bad, I guess. But then the other guy he attacked, Miluki, is perfectly fine.
I don't know, I still like to think that the bandages are from Killua's attacking her. I think that makes the most sense.
I guess so.
I don't think it's said that he cut up his brother or anything, he just beat him up.
That's fair enough. But... at the same time, we're also getting a lot of weird, anachronistic stuff in that she has the youngest Zoldyck with her, who is a little kid in a kimono. And it's getting a little bit difficult to tell, what ethnicity is this family?
Hey, man, Takashi's good at character designs, okay? Just accept it. Accept how good he is at making character designs.
Yeah, so Canary's backstory with Killua was pretty tragic because it was always suggested that she wanted to be friends with him, but the constraints of her position and his family had never really allowed them to grow that close.
The Zoldicks they're a family of assassins, so they don't allow, friendships and trust and bonds with anyone, not even each other.
There's also just the general distinction between master and servant.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, that applies there, too. And even though Killua and Canary, it was obvious that they want to be friends, but Canary understands that she would lose her job and or be killed.
So that's where a lot of her sympathy towards Gon sort of originates. Is I think she kind of wants him to succeed where she had failed. And then we get a really weird scene where it kind of fakes out her death.
Yeah, so we start the next episode. Canary's fine. No, she's okay. She's fine. Don't worry, folks. She's just knocked out by that, sleeper bullet.
I don't even know what that was. Was that, a blow dart, or...
I think it was actually just that Takashi didn't want to kill off the character because she was adorable.
Have we been cutting to Killua by this point?
I believe we have been. Killua is being tortured in one of the deep dungeons of the manor by his big brother Miluki.
Miluki, who, here is
is your favorite.
Oh, God. Here is a fun fact for you all. Apparently, in, either it was the older anime or some sort of original translation, they decided that they were going to transliterate his name as Milky. Milky Zoldyck.
No, it's good. That works.
So yeah, he's an otaku and he's sadistic, and I kind of wish he had one more trait than that.
No, it's okay. Hey, you don't have to keep making these excuses, dude.
Jesus Christ.
You're allowed to like him as shitty and terrible as he is. I'm not judging.
He is also the only member of the family besides Killua wearing, like, modern clothing.
Yeah, it seems like Milky just kind of seems like he doesn't really have any kind of reverence for like the old-timey trappings and the style that the rest of his family goes for, the many various styles of the Zoldycks.
That's the other thing is, does he actually assassinate anybody, or does he just like buy anime figurines and watch porn?
He is, as far as we understand, he's the main torturer of the family, so it's unclear if he kills people or if he just interrogates them.
Well, it's revealed later that he hasn't left the house in 10 years.
Yeah, so it's probably just that. He stays inside.
We also get reference to inventions he's made, but they don't work very well.
What a loser. So he's kind of the techie computer guy as well. Shockingly, he loves the internet, and he loves anime girl figurines, and he loves potato chips. No, it's fine. You're allowed to love him. It's okay.
Oh, God. So he has been just wailing on Killua in the torture chamber. He was very... Like, it doesn't even seem like he got very badly hurt, but his pride was insulted a lot, so he's just having at him.
He's really grumpy. He's really getting his revenge on his little 12-year-old brother. And
this has been going on for the entirety of the training montage, and I don't know how long that lasted, like, in universe, but...
Well, I mean, in real life, an arm takes approximately, several months to heal or something. It was like 3 days or something. Who cares? It was probably like 5 days.
All right, sometimes stuff that's going on off screen doesn't really seem to correspond to the same time frame that who we are following.
Well, no, we know that Gon's really good at healing his bones because of his Nen.
Sure, okay. I think the mom actually comes and tries to deliver a fake message from Killua. Like, I'm fine, guys, I just gotta make it up to my mom and brother. You can go away now. And I don't think anybody really buys it.
Man, that was really mean. That's nasty. That's super gross. Sorry, I'm remembering that now. Ugh.
The thing is, it's really weird. The fact that Illumi is not in this arc is weird, and what else is weird is that none of the weird physical violence that, like, it's oftentimes very, very excessive, but none of it's actually portrayed with the narrative weight that one thing Illumi did earlier was.
Yeah, it's because, like, particularly the physical violence that we see is against Gon and against Killua. And the thing with Gon is that Gon is not afraid of physical pain, and he does not give a shit about being hurt. So you can beat him up as much as you want, but he never really cares that much when it happens. He's too determined for that. And I'm predicting that that's going to be kind of a significant thing with Gon's character arc later in the series. With Killua, it's more just that it's not even that he's not afraid of pain, it's that he doesn't seem to be... His body is so toughened throughout his ridiculous training as a child that he doesn't even really get affected by pain very much.
Yeah, but it's not even just that the violence is not portrayed as narratively significant. I feel like the mom and Miluki in particular are assholes, but they're not really intimidating figures. Like, nobody in this family is actually remotely intimidating besides Illumi and maybe the dad, but we only get, like, one scene of the dad in this entire arc.
I would argue that Killua's grandpa is also pretty intimidating. If only in like the like quiet, reserved kind of way, where like this guy is a cold hard killer and he has been killing for decades.
At the same time, he doesn't feel scary. Like, if anything,
that's just because you like old men.
But I mean, I feel like we had set it up as if Killua's family was going to be as weird and as much of a threat to him as Illumi was shown to be, and a lot of them are just clownish.
This show has a tone problem. The Zoldycks are really pretty goofy all around.
The mom in particular, well, I think she has a pretty cute scene where she just decides to go back to the house after delivering the message, and the little one, Kaluto, or whatever, stays behind and introduces themselves to Gon and the rest of the party. And once the mom realizes this, she just freaks the fuck out and just runs back and grabs her kid away. And I thought that was, I don't know, that was a pretty fun portrayal of that sort of neurotic mom. So
yeah, like I feel like we're really not supposed to find these characters especially intimidating, and like it's because they're like again, the series has a tone problem. There's supposed to be a good amount of like comedy in this arc because it clearly feels like it's meant to be like an unexpectedly light sort of thing. Like Togashi's playing with that juxtaposition of these like really weird, fucked up circumstances and trying to mess with your expectations of those things because we're dealing with Killua's abusive family. And I'm not saying that like it's a good idea to make an abusive family like a bunch of charmingly comedic figures, but it's done in just such a weird, bizarre way that like the feelings that it elicits, the affect is just kind of hard to describe, and you kind of can't help but laugh at that ridiculousness of it.
Yeah, like I think I like most of the family. I just don't think they were utilized particularly well. And I think Illumi's absence is very, very obvious throughout the entirety of this arc. And I think part of the reason this arc might have been aborted, I think part of why he might have wanted out, is that he wanted Killua's character development to go on a lot longer, because it feels like Illumi is an endgame boss for Killua in the same way that we're setting up people like Hisoka for Gon and Chrollo for Kurapika, and it feels like he might have wanted to keep that going on a lot longer.
Yeah, I really don't think Illumi could have reasonably been a like serious confrontation figure in this arc this early.
Mm-hmm.
Because I completely agree. He's way bigger of a confrontation figure for Killua than that.
Yeah, and so I think he might, on a larger scale, have just realized that if Killua got all his family problems sorted out now, there would really be nothing for him to do later. I think he wanted to have that as kind of a backdrop to the character's actions and stuff as we are moving forward. Because otherwise he doesn't really have very strong goals or motivations. He just wants to be with Gon. And so I think him still having this weird family around to deal with is just kind of increasing the amount of depth you can get from those interactions. Okay, we got sidetracked a bit, but all right, the mom leaves.
No, really, I think that was solid. No, that was some good analysis. Like, you're making a good point. Like, these characters stay like we can't just resolve Killua's conflicts this early with all of these characters. It's a better idea to kind of keep them around in the background as a looming threat throughout more of his development as we continue with his adventures, because, spoiler alert everybody, we get Killua back.
Yeah, so it is revealed at some point Killua just breaks out of the restraints that were holding him.
Yeah, so Killua had decided that he wanted to apologize to Milky And he did that by spending a few days in the torture chamber and just being like, hey, and his idea was just like, hey, bro, get your aggression out, whatever, like, you can get some payback, that's fine. Again, like, everything about this family is really fucked up. And then just decides when he's kind of just done with it and bored, he just breaks out of his chains and is just like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, and I think it's actually the grandpa who comes to get him because the dad is home and he wants to go talk with his dad about the new friend he made.
Oh, yeah. This leads to actually, like, a really heartwarming scene.
The dad, at least, would be expected to be.
Like, if the mom was that awful, you would expect the dad to be pretty horrible. But we actually get to a scene that really completely caught me off guard.
Same here.
Not only in its, color palette and stuff, where everything is very, very blue and the lighting is very stark and it looks amazing. But also in just, like, its tonal direction, where Killua kind of just, like, Killua just in his dad's room and just kind of, like, sits down next to his dad. Dad, like, ruffles his hair a little bit, like, hey, son, welcome home, what's up? And they just kind of, like, have a talk about what Killua has been up to.
It's startlingly normal.
It's this, like, kind, sweet, intimate kind of thing between, like, a dad and a son just bonding over some stories. And the really sweet thing about it is that the only thing Killua can talk about the whole time about the Hunter exam is stuff that Gon did.
Yeah, and it's funny because they kind of teased the dad's reveal a little bit, and they set it up so you're expecting him to be much more evil and intimidating than the rest of this goofy household. And instead we get someone who, at least at first glance, appears to be a relatively healthy father figure.
Yeah, he's this enormously, like, buff, scary looking dude, but he's actually, like, very soft and very warm, and he's listening to his son and spending time with him. And this felt completely wrong to me at first, by the way. Like, this caught me off guard, and it's really sweet and nice, but it feels so weird.
I like
and potentially, problematic, if we're going to throw that word in, that, like, we're portraying the mother as this, like, horrible, catty, abusive figure who's lying to everyone all the time, and then portraying the dad as, like, this actually genuinely sweet, caring figure and stuff. And it's like, this doesn't fit at all. How does this horrible, abusive family have this dad who's like this?
I was kind of expecting them to throw some wrench in it, because it was kind of good at, while being a sweet scene, kind of keeping you dreading things to come. A lot like Gon during the Hunter exam when he's learning to catch things so he can go and catch Hisoka.
Oh man, yeah, very much like that, because there's this feeling in the back of your head that, like, this does not fit at all. This doesn't feel right. And you're not wrong to be suspecting that, because after Killua leaves, and we continue the scene with Grandpa entering the room to talk to Dad, we do learn that, like, oh, maybe he's not as genuinely kind and good of a dad as you think, because he actually... Well, the dad told Killua that he should go be with his friends and do what he wants with his life. Turns out the dad was actually lying to him, and simply believes that, like, even if he knows that he can't convince Killua with his words right now, but he actually has no faith whatsoever in Killua's ability to go live on his own in the world and be with friends and actually be a healthy, functional person.
Yeah, and I think that both you and me really would have wanted a little bit more there, because he's kind of hinting at his own history with a rebellious stage and realizing that he really can't function in this world outside of his profession as an assassin. But we don't actually explore any of that, so we're just left hinting at it.
It was a really small kind of, like, subtextual thing, but it was at least enough to like, make me rescind my worries about, like, kind of a really unbalanced portrayal of the mom and the dad. To realizing, oh, okay, like, actually the dad is, in his own ways, just as manipulative and bad as the mom is, just not quite as openly towards the rest of his kids.
Okay, so we're kind of dropping that, and it's very strange after we set all that up to kind of excuse Killua out of it so easily.
Yeah, so Killua is just free.
Yeah, it just feels very anticlimactic, and at the same time, we never get back to Illumi. We never have him like come back home after his assassination mission to realize that his little brother who he sent home is not home anymore. And like even the next time we get Illumi back, we're still not finding out his opinion on this situation. And that feels like a very strange hole to leave, considering he was the one who set up this conflict in the first place.
It's almost like this arc wasn't thought through very well.
Yeah. And so at the same time, Gon is going to the butler's office, I think, to retrieve Killua.
Butler dormitory, or like just that their separate house that they have.
I love the butlers. They look so cool.
They look like butlers, so they look like assholes. So Killua has gotten to the house, and he's told to simply, I believe it was wasn't it Goto himself, the head butler, who came up with this little scheme to try and appeal to Kikyo the mom?
I think he might have. I don't remember very strongly, but he has devised a challenge that he is going to make Gon and Co. Surpass before they get to see Killua.
Yeah, he's decided that instead of telling Killua that like his friends are here and he can just go, he's decided to tell Killua to go wait for the guests in one of the rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And he would tell them when they arrive, but instead, when they arrive, he sets up this coin flip game.
Yeah, they gotta guess where the coin ends up, which hand it ends up in, and it gets very, very absurd and anime very quickly, with him doing all the cool hand movements and the coins going everywhere, and it is very silly.
As we said, this arc doesn't work very well, and it was clearly kind of dropped, and this makes a very strange kind of like climactic challenge.
Yeah,
because really it's really just kind of playing like it's basically just playing a little bit of a board game, but at the end of things before meeting up with Killua again, and it gets really silly, and Gon just kind of like tries to pay as close attention as he can.
He's got those good senses, because I guess he had a lot of contact with nature, and that's what nature does. I don't know.
Lets you find coins.
Yeah, so he passes without too much trouble.
And Goto continues to be like a decently charming figure. Like he seems like a guy who's like honestly likes his job and likes serving the family, and tries to get along with everybody.
Yeah, what we're finding out is there is actually no shortage of supportive, healthy figures in Killua's life. It's actually just a few people who are kind of responsible for all the fucked up stuff.
Yeah, it feels like Goto's motivation in this sequence is more so to protect Killua.
Mm-hmm.
It's just unfortunate that he is under the assumption that protecting Killua means letting the family take care of Killua more so than these strangers who he's unfamiliar with.
Yeah.
So like he's a decent villain in this moment, in that like he has a very understandable and sympathetic motivation, but he simply doesn't have a full grasp of the context in which he's working. So it's what a tragic figure, Goto the Butler, if you think about it.
Yeah, we have a lot of like characters who aren't bad, who don't go anywhere. I like his design. It reminds me of like Gendo Ikari, and I like how he has the other subservient butlers to him like as background dancers when he's doing the coin moves.
And they end up playing a part in the challenge as well, and I don't remember exactly how that resolves. It's a dumb twist.
It's very stylish though.
it was cute, but
He's not a very climactic figure.
no, and that's the end of the Zoldyck family arc. We that was 5 episodes,
Yep.
and we cleared through that.
And here is the part that annoyed me a lot more is Killua murdered a guy, and we were not aware if maybe Illumi was influencing him in that respect. And I understand why Gon is not confronting him about this, because Gon is very simple-minded, and he's just happy to have Killua back. But
Gon has seen a lot of death.
yeah, but the thing is nobody older. Is Kurapika gonna ask, hey, Killua, are you feeling okay? What happened back there?
Well, I mean, like, we've also seen Killua, like, murder another guy. Like, we saw him kill the prisoner during the trick tower.
He had an actual motivation to do that, though. Like, it's not so much the murder so much as he had no reason to do this because it was Leorio's match, and it was set up so that it was expected Leorio was going to win anyway, and the rules had been set up beforehand, so if you interfered on someone's behalf, they would actually lose. And so people were actually, during that scene where everybody's bickering about their complaints with the Hunter exam, I think Kurapika and Leorio expressed suspicions that they did not think Killua was acting of his own accord. I think we should have followed up on those suspicions because we still...
I didn't actually remember those that suspicion being brought up. I thought this was something that you had come up with on your own.
No. I mean, we still do not know what was going on at the Hunter exam because there was that bit where Hisoka was whispering stuff to Botaro, the guy he killed, and we don't know why that was going on. And it's kind of suggested that Illumi and Hisoka were collaborating, but how so and to what end, we never really found out.
Oh, that's some conspiracy theory stuff I did not process as I was watching this.
I really hope we do get back to this, and it's in like 30 more episodes from where we are, which would put it at like episode 100 or whatever, and we're finally...
We are not at episode 70.
Is close enough. I hope we just go 100 episodes later. Hey, are you guys still curious about what happened in the Hunter exam?
Hey, remember that thing that I whispered to that old man 100 episodes ago?
Yeah, because the thing is, this series kind of does that. Like, I took a look at the manga, and there is a character who, in the comic, is the first character shown. We get his interactions with Gon as a child. And in the anime, he shows up in episode 70-something, because apparently he had nothing to do in the meantime in the original comic. So they just showed a character for one issue and then brought him back a ridiculous amount of time. Like,
no, that's good. That sounds like a good idea.
So the anime, I think, was trying to edit that a little bit to make it less silly. Yeah.
So we have we've rescued Killua at this point. We're kind of out, and we are, I believe, we're like taking a train back to a main city.
And at this point, it is revealed that Leorio and Kurapika don't really want to stick around anymore.
Well, don't put it like that. They're saying what they're saying is that they want to go off and do their own things for a little bit, but the group has agreed, based on the mysterious thing that Hisoka whispered to Kurapika during their match, that the Phantom Troop, the spider that Kurapika is hunting after, are planning a secret attack on an auction in York New City on September 1st.
Yeah, and so everybody else is going to show up to provide emotional support.
Yeah. Everybody's going to cheer on Kurapika from the sidelines.
Yeah, so I actually think, even though it's a little bit clumsy how they just, like, leave to pursue their own goals, I think it was a good idea to, especially with Kurapika, since he has such strong goals in that motivate his character, I think it's a good idea to get rid of him until you're actually going to be focusing on his own struggles and ideals, because up till now, they've just kind of been cheerleaders, I feel like.
I also think that this moment, it makes enough logical sense that it totally works for me, because the idea is that Kurapika has, like, some goals that he wants to work on his own. He's got some leads and some hints that he wants to go, like, secretly pursue. Because, again, he kind of has trouble trusting all these people, even if they are his friends. While Leorio's thing is that he now has his hunter license, so he wants to go off, do some research, and do some medical school stuff. Because he has his own things that he doesn't really want everyone else to be bogged down in.
Yeah, see you in 4 years, Leorio.
Goodbye. And so they're essentially all they do is basically just leave Gon and Killua to, like, a summer vacation.
Do you think we have enough time to do the Heaven's Arena arc this episode?
No, actually, I'm surprised by how much we had to talk about this, like, arc that doesn't really exist.
Yeah, honestly.
I think that's actually going to be this episode. Like, we've actually had a lot of things to say about 5 episodes.
Yeah, so do you want to talk about it in retrospect or as a whole?
I think we will save Heaven's Arena for next episode.
No, I mean the Zoldyck family, like.
Oh, the Zoldyck arc. I think that we see some really promising stuff from the Zoldicks, and I'm glad to see that with our, spoilerific future vision, that we do get to some returns on these characters. They will be interacting with our protagonists again in the future in some really fun ways, I think. But the Zoldyck family arc was very much a dropped ball. It just feels like it was something that was kind of jumped into without much forethought, and then Togashi must have felt like he had, like, written himself into a corner, probably realized that thing about Ilumi and character conflict that you were mentioning, and realized, gotta drop this, have to get out of this.
The only alternative I could think of is that he just got a really good idea for a power system in a series that had previously gone without one, and he just was
right.
so excited to introduce that to his viewers that he just decided, fuck whatever conflict I have set up already. Just.
Oh man, you know what this needs right now instead? A tournament arc.
Yeah, I agree with you, because it has a lot of ideas that are not terrible. It has a lot of characters that are not terrible and that do kind of get interesting interactions later. But it felt like, for a conflict that was set up very heavily based on Killua's trauma and his sort of delusions about normalcy and self-sacrifice as a means of sort of proving himself, it feels like we didn't get any sort of emotional drama with him at all.
Yeah, in a way I kind of, like, I understand where it's going with that, which is that Killua, we're seeing elements of, like, traumatic repression in Killua's character, which is stuff that's going to be bubbling up as the series continues.
But it feels like we don't get any follow-up on that for a bit of a ridiculous amount of time.
Yeah, I don't think even as far as I've gotten now that we have seen a lot of that come up yet, but I feel it in my bones that, like, it's going to be something that we're dealing with in the future, so I'm going to be calling it here that, like, that's something that's going to be saved more for later, probably in an upcoming arc as that we're getting to.
Yeah, and I think that about wraps up our thoughts.
I think so. I think talking like this has given me a better appreciation for this arc. I think that there was actually a lot more going on in these few episodes than we may have thought there was, just because we were frustrated at the, like, kind of botched structure.
Yeah, I think going back and looking at it, it's clear to me why I kept watching, even though in retrospect this doesn't even come close to some of the better moments of the series, I think that it at least contains some underlying good ideas, or at least just some underlying heart to it that's just not present in some other stuff.
Yeah, we have by this point watched past that that supposedly excellent episode 40, and I can confirm that about episode 40 is where things do start getting just really, really good in this series.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in the boat. I'm on that boat too.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll have a few more episodes out in fairly short order. Unless there's anything you have more to say.
No, I think we wrapped that up pretty well. The next episode after this is simply a recap, so we won't really need to talk much about that because that's all we're doing here, anyways. But following up on that will be us following along with Gon and Killua as they head to a place called Heaven's Arena, a gigantic battle tower where we go into our real big tournament arc that's definitely real. And definitely isn't a lot of fake out. And there will be lots of real action fighting for sure, where we'll learn about magic and stuff, and there will be lots of martial arts. And the series is going to get really, 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 really silly.
Yep. See you next time, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.